All right, good morning, my artists. So today we are going to be going back to our first draft sketch that you should have submitted last week. Or, oh, I'm sorry, no, I actually have the assignment due this week. So tomorrow is when it's due. And we're just going to expand on this a little bit. I don't want to rush you guys into making your final draft. If you would like to start your final draft, you may. Please don't finish it. I want to make sure that you get a chance to get some feedback. I want to make sure you have a chance to hear some glows and grows before you finish your final, just so we have an opportunity to improve on our work. But this assignment for this week, we are just going to go over how to kind of give ourselves some feedback. We're going to do a little self-analysis on our first draft, and we are going to create a to-do list or a list of things that we could improve, a little self-critique for our piece. All right, so if you remember the positive quote that I picked, and by the way, I'm really loving what I'm seeing from a lot of you. You're doing a really, really great job, so keep that up. I do think that, don't be afraid to put a lot of detail into this first draft. If you have something that took you about 15 to 20 minutes, try to get a full 30 to 40 minutes worth of work into your piece, just because, this piece should take you about the amount of time it would have taken us in one class period to do. And that's, I give you a whole week to do it. So if you have about that much time done with this, that you want that level of detail, just to make sure that you have a good plan for moving forward with your final draft. So the quote that I picked was, "Happiness often sneaks in through a door you didn't know you left open." If I'm looking at my piece right now, I'm going to pretend I'm a student. And I'm going to think about the glows and the grows, the things that I like and the things that I think I need to improve on. Okay, so I'm going to just take a couple of notes as I go. I'm going to make a little T-chart of glows and grows. Okay, so remember, this is a first draft, so you want to be thinking about the level of effort you should have taken for a first draft, but you also want to be thinking about what you need to do to move it into that final phase. So first, my glows that I have here, I like the composition. You guys remember that we talked about different composition technique. So I'm going to write down for glows, I see good composition. I have overlapping. I have scale. I have breaking the picture plane. I'm going to shorten that because we're not going to take that time to write it out. Overlapping, scale, breaking the picture plane. I'm not going to count odd numbers just because there's so many objects, like you guys know. Rule of thirds. My focal point is kind of a third of the way into the picture with these bubbles. It kind of falls into the middle, but then also there's about a third of the page that is kind of the darkness. So I would say I have rule of thirds. And what am I missing? Overlapping, scale, breaking the picture plane, rule of thirds, odd numbers. So we're skipping odd numbers. That's my glows. I like my composition. I like my ideas. And, you can be honest with yourself. Do you think your idea is clear enough? I'm going to move over to the grows for a second. So if I'm looking at this whole picture, I would say my idea is somewhat clear, but I think my grows would be, for my final, I want to turn the words into pictures. Okay, so I want to turn my words that are in the bubbles into pictures. I think that would communicate my idea more clearly. I don't really like it in pencil. If you only have pencil, that's fine. You can also use different materials to color. There are a lot of different tutorials out there about using what you have around your house to make colors. If you don't have paint or colored pencil, just look into some things. You don't have to. If you want to do black and white, that's fine. Or if you're doing collage, or if you're setting up a photo, like the toy photo worksheet that you saw, or if you're doing a sculpture, that's fine too. But just think about what materials you have to make this the most fun for you. You don't want this to be something that's like, oh, it's another drawing assignment, I don't even like drawing. Pick something that you're going to like. So look for different materials that you want to do. If you have any questions, please ask. I'm happy to help you brainstorm. So far, not many students have taken advantage. I get some messages about questions about things, But I'm available every day from 1 to 1:50. All of the teachers have office hours, so if you want to do a Google Meet, I'm happy to meet up with you and talk ideas. That's fine. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. But for mine, I'm going to put in a couple grows. I want to add color. I want to make it bigger. I would like to work on my shading. So it's okay, but it's kind of messy, so I want to make it neater. Okay. So what you're going to do this week is come up, based on the first draft that is due on Wednesday, you are going to hand into me a Word document. You can just use the Word document that will be posted with the assignment. Remember, that will not be this assignment. This assignment is the 10-point participation assignment, so as long as you watch the video, you'll be fine, and you hand in your attendance. That's what I'm counting. I will post a separate assignment this afternoon that will be due on Friday. The two things you need to do for that is create a glow and a grow list. You don't need to make a T-chart on Word. I know that can be a little tricky. That's fine. You can just list some bullet points. Try to have at least 5 and 5. So at least 5 glows, 5 grows, and be honest with what you see in your work. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I've met my 5 glows. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have my 5 grows. Okay, you doing this list, let's say you focus on your grows, you need more grows. It's okay. You don't need to worry about, your grade being based off of what you list as things that you need to improve. As long as you're doing the work and you're putting in the effort, me seeing that you're thinking about your work is what I'm looking for. So if you're giving yourself some grows, some things you think you need to improve on, that's awesome. It means you're actually paying attention to what you're creating and you're thinking about, okay, how can I make this piece stronger? All right, so after you have your 5 glows and your 5 grows, you're going to go ahead and make a to-do list, okay? Okay, my to-do list for my positive quote final draft. So I'm going to use the glows and the grows that I have listed. And again, you can, if you want to handwrite it out, you can do that and take a picture of this and send it to me. Just make sure it's clear. Or you can just type it directly into a Word document. Or honestly, even the comments, it doesn't matter for the assignment. So you get your glows and grows. You're going to then create a to-do list based on this glow and grow. Okay, so I like my composition, overlapping scale, all of these things I like. I'm going to focus on my grows. What do I need to do to make this drawing better? So I need to think about all of these together. I see I need to turn my words and the bubbles into pictures. I want to add color. I want to make it bigger. I want to fix the shading, and I want to make it neater. So the first thing I want to think about is, what do I plan on making this picture out of? I'm going to continue doing this with a painting. You can do it with, again, photography. If you want to set up objects around your house, if you want to set up a scene, that's fine. If you want to do a collage, that's fine. So think about, what materials do I need? So let's see. To do, I need to figure out what materials do I need to gather? Okay, so what materials do I need to gather? Do not feel like you need to go out and purchase art supplies. That's not what I'm asking you to do, okay? Use what you have around you. Know what, I don't want you going out to the store feeling like you have to order supplies. Definitely don't do that. Just use what you have around you. So what materials do I need to gather? For you, this could be looking at different objects at your house. If you're doing the photography, you could be gathering toys and books and fabric and like pillows, whatever you're going to do to set up the scene that you're going to take a picture of, like you saw in that toy photography thing. So you need to think about what you need. If you're doing collage, you need to find old magazines, newspapers, whatever your family is finding with you cutting up and making into a collage, you're going to gather materials, okay? So for me, I'm going to choose, so I need to find a surface to paint. For me, that is going to be either paper or a canvas. Again, I have these things handily around, so if you have paper, use paper. If you have a canvas and you want to use a canvas, use a canvas. You get to pick what you want to use. That's fine. I need to also find and choose paint and type of paint. So acrylic, watercolor. If you want to even, again, you can make paint. I've seen kids making paint out of like coffee. You can just paint in like gray scales, or technically it's like a tan scale of coffee. That's fine. Ask your family before you do any of this, though. You want to make sure you have permission before you use supplies. Next, I want to think about, what do I need to do? I want to add color. So maybe I'm going to add some color to my sketch. I want to think about how I'm going to map out color here first. You guys know we do this with our first drafts in class. So I might use some colored pencils or markers, just kind of sketch out what I want for a color scheme. It's not going to be perfect here. This is where I do my test run. I want to make sure I like the way things look here before I do them on my final. I want to practice sketching my bubble scenes. Okay, so again, I'm going to think about making it bigger. I need to pick a surface, right? Adding color, I'm going to practice adding color here. Shading, I'm going to practice shading using the color again on my first draft. I can also do that when I get to my final draft. I'm going to think about, I might look up some color mixing tutorials. So I'm going to look up research, videos, video tutorials on color mixing. So if you're not doing painting, or if you're not doing color pencil, whatever, why don't you look up some research on, intro middle school photography if you're doing something with setting up a scene. You could look up intro to collage, middle school collage, if you are planning on doing collage. Find a video or two that you want to look at. So the only things that you are going to have to do on Friday, this is going to be sort of a smaller assignment because you're critiquing your work and you're writing a to-do list. So I'm going to ask you to submit your glows and grows. You're going to submit your to-do list based on what you wrote for your grows. And then you're going to just write 4 or 5 sentences. I'm going to show you this on the assignment itself. 4 or 5 sentences that have to do with your piece. You want to give yourself kind of more of a written critique. And I'm going to give you an example of that in just a second. All right. So this is my little critique that I wrote up based on my to-do list and based on my glows and grows. Okay. So I'm doing a self-reflection. Based on this picture here. And I'm basing this again off of what I've already done. I'm just basically writing a synopsis or a summary of my glows and grows and based on my to-do list. Okay. So my little critique, which again, you can do in the Word document that has your 5 glows and grows and your to-do list. My little critique states, it should be at least 4 sentences. 4 or 5 is fine. Complete full sentences. It's summarizing what you already said. So I wrote for myself, overall, I really like the way my first draft turned out. I think that my sketch clearly communicates my quote because it shows happy things falling through an open door. I still need to work on neatness. I also want to practice with color as well as sketching the ideas in my bubbles. All right, so it's concise, just summarizes clearly what I want to do and what my goals are. And that's going to help me set up what I plan to do and have a better idea of what I want to do for my actual final piece. Okay, so be serious about this. Take your time giving yourself some feedback. You really want to think about how you can improve on your work and how you can make your work strongest for your final draft. All right, if you have any questions, reach out. I look forward to seeing how you guys develop your ideas. This should take you about 20 minutes to do a little glow and grow list, a little to-do list, and a little critique. All right, so not a big assignment. This will be due on Friday. Just make sure for today you submit attendance and submit this video on Google Classroom. Turn it in or say mark is done so I can mark you for participation. Again, love to see your questions, so reach out if you have any. Looking forward to seeing your ideas, guys.